welcome to lesson 96. This is about using reciprocals to divide fractions. Now in lesson 95, the last lesson we just did, we learned about reciprocals. And reciprocals is simply inverting a fraction, meaning I'm switching the numerator and the denominator. So if I have 1/2, the reciprocal of half is 2 over 1 or 2. Or if I were to have, let's say, 6/8, the reciprocal of 6/8 would be 8 over 6. I'm simply flipping the fraction. Now, we're going to use the reciprocals. Actually, it's the only way we use reciprocals is when dividing fractions. And we've learned what dividing fractions is and the questions we ask ourselves. But then when we come across different types of fractions, we can't do those mentally in our head. And it's nearly impossible to draw an accurate picture and to be able to give an accurate answer. So there's actually now steps in a process for finding it. Some of you may find this easier. So just wait and we'll get to the point where we'll be able to divide fractions just by following simple steps. So if I were to have a division problem such as 1/2 divided by 2/3, I'm saying how many 2/3 are there in 1/2? Now if you do notice right off the bat, 2/3 is actually larger than half, but I'm still trying to see how many 2/3 are going to fit into 1/2. So my answer will actually be a fraction because I can't fit 1 whole 2/3 into a half. So this is where we need to learn our steps for how to do it. So the reasoning behind all of these steps is saying, okay, how many 2/3 are in a whole? If we can say how many 2/3 are in 1 whole, which is pretty reasonable, then that means I can figure out how many are in a half because I can find half of a whole pretty simply. So when I say how many 2/3 are in 1 whole, we're just simply getting the reciprocal. Just like when we learned about reciprocals, if I have any number times its reciprocal, so if I'm multiplying a number times its reciprocal, I'm going to get 1. So same thing if I'm going to divide, trying to figure out how many 2/3 are in 1 whole, my answer is simply going to be the reciprocal. So how many 2/3 are in 1 whole? I simply flip it and I have 3 over 2. That's all there is to it. Now that's just the first step. So the second step of this process, so we have 3 over 2, so that's how many are in 1 whole. So then I need to split this in half to be able to figure out how many 2/3 are in a half. So if I find half of 3 over 2, we know that of, keyword, it's underlined, means multiplying. So ultimately I'm doing half times 3 over 2. And then I can solve that out simply and I get 3/4. So this is the reasoning behind it. Now I can simplify the steps, which we have a fun process, so that way you'll be able to do this and to be able to know what to do. But I'm explaining to you first, this is how we get our process and how we get our steps. If I can figure out how many go into 1 whole, I simply just flip the fraction, my second fraction, and then if I want to find half of, or if I want to find whatever this fraction is of, I need to multiply instead of divide, and I get my answer. So 1/2 divided by 2/3 is equal to 3/4. So this is the process that we actually did. Now you can remember this as KFC, because KFC is easy to remember, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Or you can just simply remember this, which we'll watch a song later on and we'll get stuck in your head and we'll watch it over and over again so that way we remember it. Keep, flip, change, or keep, change, flip. There we go. It goes at keep, change, flip, and it has more to it. We will watch that in class. So I'm going to keep my first fraction the same. I'm going to change my division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip my second fraction, 2/3. And it becomes 3 over 2. So that's all we did. In this whole process right here, all we did was keep, change, flip. So keep, change division to multiplication, and I flip the second fraction so I get my reciprocal. So we're going to go ahead and do example 2 together. I want you to write this down. That way you know exactly what you're doing, especially if you're not getting this right away or if it's not clicking in your mind. So I'm going to keep, I'm just going to label this, keep the 2 the same, so it's still going to be 2. However, I do need to write it as a fraction. We know how to do that. I'm going to change my division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip my second fraction. So this is what it's going to look like. Keep 2 the same, which is 2 over 1. I'm going to change my division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip 2/3, and it's going to be 3 over 2. Then I can solve. 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 2 is 2. 6 over 2 is improper, but it equals 3 since 2 can go into 6 3 whole times. So my answer to how many 2/3 does it take to make 2 wholes? My answer is 3. So kept the first one the same, changed my division to multiplication, and I flipped my 2/3. Found the reciprocal, 3 over 2. I get my answer. If it's an improper fraction, you do need to simplify. Do not stop at an improper fraction. So here's your practice set problems. You're going to do A, B, and C. You want to try to see if you can do as much as you can on your own. Again, this is a great example to look at. Keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip, or KFC. If you think KFC, keep, change, flip, whichever order helps you to be able to remember it better. So A, B, and C, all division problems with fractions. We'll go over your answers in class, practice more together, and we'll also watch the fun YouTube video that I have for you to watch and hopefully understand and get stuck in your head. Thank you very much for paying attention.